First, I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. We're very excited to have Shay with us to talk about organic and paid social media. So I'm going to turn it over to Shay. If you guys have questions throughout, please feel free to type them in the chat box. At the end, we will open it up for questions, and you can, if you feel comfortable, you can come on and ask the question, or you can just type it in the chat box throughout, and I will monitor it. For those of you watching on Facebook Live, we are monitoring questions there as well, so feel free to type those questions there. So I'll turn it over to you, Shay.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. Thanks for offering me the opportunity to do this, especially right now where social media is being used to epic measures. I'm going to try to say not say a lot, but it will happen. But I want to say hi to all of my friends and supporters. As you could imagine, I've had a lot of texts and Facebook messages about folks hopping on. So it's been a little, I don't typically get nervous, but here we go. So I'm much more of a conversation style presenter than I am presentation style. I have, however, put together this document just to really keep myself organized. And as I told the Radford team, I will be happy to share this afterwards and carry on the conversation if anyone would like to talk one-on-one and see what we can do for you or your business. So what I'm going to be talking today about is organic and paid done in tandem and what that really means. One of the biggest things about social media right now is that it has a massive amount of those online, and now more than ever. In fact, I read a story recently that folks are going to social media to learn about news, the pandemic, and all different things because they don't know what news source to believe. And so they're starting to really see what their friends and like-minded individuals are saying, and that's kind of shaping and formulating their opinions. So there's always the conversation that Facebook's for the old people, Instagram's for the younger people, and what's really Twitter about, and all these other ones. Facebook owns Instagram. So the reality is that you really, if you're going to be on a platform, you want to be on both platforms for a number of different reasons. Facebook is an opportunity to communicate really effectively with visuals, with video, with content, and tagging. And while Instagram is the same, Instagram is really more for the visual appeal. So if you've got a product or something you want to show off and you've got a great photograph of it, you likely want to share on both sites. However, your messaging needs to be different. You do need to understand the audience that you're speaking to. And it is true, in fact, that Instagram is a younger audience. I am on both. I definitely use Facebook more, but so does my 70-something-year-old father. He is not on Instagram. So you've got to really think about your target market. As far as objectives are concerned, we always, within my company and our process is smart, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And what I mean by time-bound is there are truly best practices now on what social media channel you're using and when to post, including day parts as well. You want to build brand awareness through increased reach, which we'll talk a little bit about, drive traffic to the website or social media based on your goals and conversions, and communicate your why. Why you versus your competition. Every company has competition. So are you the best customer service, and can you prove it? Are you the best product? Can you prove it? Are you the best subject matter expert? Can you prove it? And et cetera. So it's really important to, we work on social media campaigns and we create this roadmap, which we'll talk a little bit about more. And then a client will say, don't worry, I've got someone that can handle the messaging. That to-do list of that individual, no matter what level they are in their career within your workplace, falls to the bottom simply because they don't know exactly what to say or how to say it. And your brand really needs to have a tone and a voice. It can't simply be, hey, today's National Spaghetti Day and you're a car dealership. That one has nothing to do with the other. And I think that was taken advantage of for a little while, and now people are realizing that they've got to realistically communicate their message quickly and in a voice and a tone that is recognized of your brand. A lot to read here, so I'll kind of just give you some insights. The upside to Facebook, it is the largest social network with over 2.2 billion individuals. There is targeting tools for accurate reach. We can play Big Brother to a point that may make you uncomfortable, but the reality is I always tell people, who cares if they're watching if you're not doing anything wrong? And most consumers use it. It is the leading. You do have more competition. Organic reach has gone down, which is where we're going to talk a little bit about paid and that being a necessary component. People are on social media very actively, more now than ever before. And so you want to make sure you're reaching your audience that already likes you, but you really need to reach that audience that doesn't know about you. I always say to people, what ends up happening is you launch your Facebook page or your Instagram page for your company, and the first people to like you are your mom, your dad, your sister, etc. The reality is that's not your target market. So while you have friends and family, and then your reach grows organically, you really need to consider that paid component and reaching those that absolutely would be interested in your product. They just don't know you exist yet. With Instagram, the upside is over 1 billion monthly active users, very high engagement reach. If you've got visuals, like I said earlier, great platform to use. Hashtags and geotags make content discoverable. Think of it as Google for Instagram. The only linking option is in your bio, which can be problematic sometimes. And you've really got to keep it short. That's changing, but the Instagram user is proving that they want it quick and they want it succinct and move on. LinkedIn for B2B and B2C is becoming more of a thing. I remember having a conversation a number of years ago where everyone was, oh, I'm on LinkedIn, but I have no idea what the heck it's for. They have 260 million plus monthly active users. It's definitely the most social channel for business related content. But not everybody has a connection, a profile, and it has rather low engagement. So if you're going to invest your time in LinkedIn, which you can do organic and paid now, you really need to consider having that partnership with Facebook and Instagram as well. I added to this, wondering why Twitter isn't here. Twitter's really become kind of a sports figure, political celebrity engagement where it's a 24/7, and the reality is, as a business, really most aren't a 24/7. So if I say often, if you're going to be on social media, take advantage of 2, maybe 3 channels and be incredible on those channels instead of being on 4 or 5 and just okay. And if Twitter would be the one that likely would fall to the wayside if you're starting social media, and then maybe transition once you really understand your brand and your tone. This is best times to post. It's not the rule, the law, anything, but what we see in our reporting that we do for our social media clients. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the afternoon is typically the best time to be posting on Facebook. Tuesday happens to be the worst day to post on Facebook. Weekends obviously get the highest level of engagement, although we know at lunchtime during the week, people are certainly on their social media. Instagram, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, usually 11 to 1 or 7 to 9 when folks are relaxing and easing down on their days. Sunday happens to be the worst day to post on Instagram, and we continue to see that in our reporting for our clients, in which engagement is just lower than ever before. And Wednesdays get the highest level of engagement on Instagram. I can't tell you the answer as to why, but maybe it's midweek. People want to look at some really great visuals. LinkedIn, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 10 to 11. Weekends, as you can imagine, from a business social media page, aren't the best unless you're looking for a job. Defining your voice. This is a big deal. This is one of the biggest conversations we have with our clients and individuals that want to engage on social media and simply don't really know how to go about it. You've got to remain optimistic and empathetic. I as much as I don't like the words authentic and trustworthy, they make sense. You've got to be presenting a brand and representing a brand that is truly authentic and trustworthy. If you're not, you will be called out. The last thing you want is a review on social media, because yes, you're going to hopefully respond to that, but the review is already there. And the last thing you want to do is then take it down and someone say, why did you take my review down? So people are watching and they're judging more than ever before on how you react in social media. Are you the expert in the industry? And if so, how? And are you forward thinking? And then community oriented is a huge deal. I'm a serial volunteer, and sit on the board of a nonprofit that's really important to me. And that doesn't mean you need to as well. But how are you engaging with your community and really being that authentic and trustworthy, but paying it forward company or individual? So what we have ended up doing in the last handful of years is creating roadmaps. And a roadmap is really where you get to hone in on who you are, your who, what, where, when, why. And it also allows you to have a living, breathing document that you as a team have created, so that if X individual is doing all of your social media and they leave or they move on from handling your social media, you've got that roadmap to pass on to the next individual, so that you don't all of a sudden see different ways of posts and tones and things like that. I'll give you an example. Often when we're working on websites, one of the first thing I do is I read the many pages of content. And the longer the website has been up, the more you see that a number of individuals have been updating content. We all write differently. We all search on Google differently. So, and the consumer is smart to see that. They're smart to understand that, you were talking about this, but now you're talking about this in a different way. They will quickly pick up on that without you realizing. And that's social media, website, and everything in between. So we all often recommend a roadmap to really identify who you are, and that document is fluid if things change or you're offering a new service or anything of that sort. However, you've got that living, breathing document that can be passed around to the individual that's in charge of managing your brand voice. So high-level engagement strategies. Video is incredibly, it's incredibly helpful in that you can really tell a story. And it gives you the opportunity to capture the attention in seconds. And when we talk about video online, especially for social media, 15, 30, 45 seconds max. People want their information, and they want their information now. And if you don't give them that information, they're going to bounce off and go elsewhere to look for something else. Investing in social ads is hugely important. Now more than ever is you've got to pay to play. We're all on social media, more now, and will continue to be. The reality is that when you're sharing something on social media, you're already sharing it with the people that already like you. So they're already either a client or a friend. And if they're a client, they already believe in you. So what we can do and what you can do from a paid standpoint is really invest in that big brother mentality of what are their interests? What's their age group? What's their education level? Where do they live? Their zip code? Are they in a single family home or an apartment? It's scary territory, but it's incredibly worthy and successful. I don't recommend at this point that anyone simply do organic social media. If you're not investing in paid, you are going to get lost in the world of scrolling, etc. You will see higher conversions and opportunity as well. Michael Del Pierre is going to be giving a presentation on Friday about Google and PPC, and I implore you to watch it because it's an extension of what we do. Investing those dollars, and it's really not super expensive. Once you understand who your target market is, you can have a small, medium, or large budget, but you're going to reach an audience that either never knew about you or simply needs to be reminded about you. And then engage with the community you're building. It is never enough just to schedule and post content. You've got to reply. You've got to comment. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter how many likes you have. What matters is, are you engaging with those that want to engage with you? I've worked with influencers on social media for clients, and one has 29,000 followers. And at the end of the day, 2 likes, maybe a comment. Whereas I've worked with influencers helping support my client social media, and they've got 6,000 followers and they have an incredible amount of engagement. That is what you want. If you don't communicate, it goes both ways. You will see a drop in your followers and those that believe in your brand. So, where should your brand business have a presence? Is it Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter? List goes on, and there's more and more too. I've got clients in real estate that now, should we be on Snapchat? Nope, we're gonna hit the brakes on that one right now. But you've got to determine which you believe based on your demographic, your target audience, geographic, and all that information, and build that tone and voice, and then determine which is best for you. I have clients that sometimes say Facebook and Instagram, that's too much. That's okay. But let's start on one based on who your target market is. And we've got that intel, and many companies do, and what you want to be on. I've got B2B that really only want LinkedIn, and all of a sudden say, wait a second, we need to be building our company, and we need to show them that our culture is incredible. That's when that B2B might say, hey, Facebook or Instagram might be a great idea. We're taking our entire team to see a Caps game, or we've got, a potluck, and we want to show that. LinkedIn's not going to be the right place to show that, but Facebook and Instagram certainly would be. So I feel like I'm probably telling you all things you know, but just in case, organic social media is the free tool. That is where you go and you comment, on and your posts and what you're up to, and who you are, and did you knows, and all of that. You've got to know your target audience. If you don't and you're guessing, get in a room or Zoom and huddle up and determine really who you are or who you want to be when you grow up. Do you have a unique tone and voice? What's going to differentiate you? And as I said earlier, who's managing your content and posting? I will say it probably all too often in this presentation that typically social media gets handed to someone that, you do it, we don't want to pay for it. That person isn't trained in social media. They don't understand really, times and day parts and messaging that will resonate. So they quickly post that, like I said, National Spaghetti Day or whatever it is. And what does that really have to do with, the fact that you're selling shoes? Really, it doesn't. Is your content resonating? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to the engagement. You can very, very quickly pull a report together and look at what is resonating. So as you build out the content for the upcoming month, pay attention to those things. What are people liking? And here, as I said, do more than mom and dad like your page. Determining your benchmarks, measurable benchmarks, as I said, you can really hone in a little bit on your analytics. So you need to consider followers. You need to consider a number of accounts you're following. And what I mean by that is when you create a page, you have the opportunity to create a linking strategy and have your page like other pages that brands that resonate with you. The likelihood is they will follow you back. And you're starting to build each other's strategy and linking to communicate with each other and maybe include each other in your posts. A great way to determine a base would be to look at the number of accounts your competition is following and what time of day they're posting. You don't have competition? You do. Everybody's trying to say something online, especially social media. So that's just a good rule of thumb. See what they're doing and then consider how can you do that better. Boosted posts, you need to pay to play, like I said. Organic posts on average only reach 3% of your community. That is extremely low, and it continues to decrease. Comments tend to be valued higher than likes, as I said. So shares are one of the highest valued engagement metrics. If you can say something online that it resonates so much that they want to share it and say, this is correct, this is great, or this is funny, that's great. So you need to consider reach and impressions, the type of content and videos, photos, links, text only. I typically recommend err on the side of always having a visual. Text only, just simply, we're visual creatures. So we want to see that photo that kind of aligns with what your message is. It will make us stop and read it a little bit more. And I said, one size does not fit all. It's important to develop internal measures to define engagement. What are your goals to click through to your social media page, to click through to your website? And if the goal is your website, please make sure you have analytics and that you're looking at them. You've got to pay attention to those things. How long's your response time? How long if you owe someone an apology? And, most consumers will go to social media to reach out to a brand because they will absolutely get a faster response than phone or email. So that's something to consider. So where are you directing them and why? But are you paying attention to what they have to say, good, bad, or ugly? So we're going to talk a little bit about creative white space. When you're developing your content, what is everyone else doing? It's fine to pay attention to that, but not just your competition. Look at brands within your industry and outside your industry to see what's working and what isn't. What are other brands focusing on in their content, and is it resonating? Is what other brands doing, is it working for them? Is it not working for them? You'll quickly see based on likes, yes, but engagement more. And what are they posting more about, and how frequently are they posting? Rule of thumb for most of our clients, we typically say 2 to 4 times a week on Facebook and 2 to 3 times on Instagram. And again, please do not copy and paste and put the same message on Facebook and Instagram. You've got crossover as it relates to demographics, but less than we would like. And so you've really got to nurture the right audiences and communicate to them effectively. People will quickly see that, okay, I just saw that on Facebook, and I just saw the same thing on Instagram. It makes me laugh. Even one of my friends, I know some of you are watching, you post something on Instagram and it asks you, do you want to post this to Facebook? Well, okay, so you say yes. Well, then now you just share the same thing on both. So I don't really need to use both. And so the consumer thinks the same way, and they'll go to one place, which then downplays what you're trying to do to resonate. Visually mapping out creative white space is a helpful strategy, and I'll show you an example for a client in a short minute. Through your competitor research, you can group content into common patterns. Like I said, what's resonating, what's not resonating, who you are, what you do differently, what are opposites of what your competitors are doing, but that you're actually really better at. So what we do is we place the logos of our clients' competitors in a map, respectively, along with each axis to kind of reveal what that brand's creative white space can be. You may not have a huge white space that you truly can own, but if there is something that you think like that's what we do, and you can somehow communicate that effectively, that you do that better than your competition without bad-mouthing them, you're going to find yourself to be far more successful. This is an example of a creative white space. Regency is a client of ours. They are a pet aftercare company, incredibly transparent, authentic, and the words that are annoying because it's overused, but they really are. And as we dug into who their competition is, we realized that good, bad, or ugly, one of them was being almost too humorous online for what the services are that they offer for the pet aftercare. One was serious and somber, and they said, no, don't want to do that. One was too informational. One was too, did you know, do this, don't do this. And so what we developed with Regency was this opportunity to just open up the conversation that losing a pet is really, really sad. It's but not in a somber way. So what we do with their social media is we try to resonate in the experience and what you're going to have with us and differentiate ourselves. It's not a time to tell a joke. It's not a time to post a meme. You don't want to inundate someone that's going through this and knowing they need to put their dog down with too much information and confusion. But you also don't want to be too serious. This is something that's really hard for a family or an individual. So our balance for them has become guidance, that authenticity, and welcoming them to the Regency family, and really showing them that when they go through this experience, they can walk in at any time and pull the curtain back, and what they're going to see is exactly what Regency promised. So it's important to do that within your competition. So paid social media, cost-effective way to convert leads and sales. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You can find new audiences, and we can get really granular. Age, gender, income, employer, children in school, did you go to school, parents, interests, companies, products, magazines you read, online or offline. And we can then track it. We can do lookalike ads built off, if you've got, if we look at your followers and we hone in on who they are, we can enter their information and their interests into this algorithm and build a lookalike audience to those that are already following you. A/B testing. For us, we use this to determine which of the creative of the same type gets better results. So for example, we may have a message about a wine flight night at a restaurant, and we're going to have a message out there targeting the exact same audience as the second ad, but it's an engaging video. And the exact same ad is going to have the exact same content, but it's going to be a picture. And within 15 to 30 days or even faster, we can find exactly which one's working, which one's getting more engagement, and why. And as I said, video's key, but if someone's scrolling through really fast, sometimes photos might prove more successful because they're not stopping to watch the video. So you've got to think about what you're trying to message and what's going to work best. And we absolutely recommend A/B testing when you first start. It's great if you're trying to pinpoint something specific about your audience as well, their age and gender, because you'll start to see the engagement and who they are. We do a lot of A/B testing as we go into the holiday season for retail clients. We start that over the summer, and then we're able to really see what's working so that by end of October, when, you know, Halloween is, or maybe mid-October, Halloween hasn't even come yet and the Christmas stuff is up. We really start to be able to hone in on how to manage and reach them. Often overlooked, but are really important. Don't start an ad and ignore it. You can't ignore the comments. You can't ignore the questions. And you're simply going to lose really huge value and data. Once the ad's up, don't touch it. Facebook takes 10 to 14 days to learn and optimize and genuinely reach your audience. So manage the engagement, but for the first 2 weeks, don't touch the ad, let it run. Reporting is going to be extraordinarily helpful. Campaigns are designed to work within certain objectives in mind. As social media platforms learn and optimize, they'll focus on the metrics that are applicable. So don't focus too much on metrics outside of that focus. Keep them in mind, but don't focus too hard on them. After 30 to 45 days, there's industry guidelines that you can compare your results to and see what's working. And different industries have different results, but I don't really think I know an industry that's not online to some capacity. So social media isn't just a platform for marketing and advertising. It is absolutely, positively the best place to nurture trust and build a relationship with your audience. When we start these robust campaigns, be it organic and paid, I would say that 90% of the time, social media, whatever channels we're on, shows up in the top 3 of leads to our website. So we work a lot in the real estate industry, for example, a lot of expensive apartments in DC, and there happen to be far more renters by choice now. That white picket fence mentality of, I buy my first condo and then townhome and then single family, all that. The millennials are wanting more experiences, using them as an example. They want experiences, and they're willing to rent and not have the responsibility of paying for a new HVAC, for example. And they're online and they're looking for apartments, and they want to live in a place that is engaging in the channels that they're using. So 9 times out of 10, when we're looking at reporting on a monthly basis and analytics, Facebook, Instagram, et cetera, is showing up in their top 3. So typically it's Google with keywords. It's organic. People have seen you somewhere and they're looking you up, and it's Facebook or Instagram. I've got so many situations with clients in different industries that now Facebook is competing, or Instagram is competing with Google. I mean, it's showing up in the top 1 or 2, even pushing Google down sometimes. So you've got to invest in both. Google, and what I mean by Google is search engines, but we all know Google is king. And then your social media. But you can really nurture and build a relationship that is honest and authentic, shows your culture, shows what you care for beyond just the product you're selling. And people they resonate with brands that are like-minded with them. So it's absolutely a recommendation that you do organic and paid, and let them kind of be a happy marriage. But be strategic about it. Know your tone, know your voice, know exactly who you're after and why. And if you don't see yourself getting engagement, don't keep doing what you're doing. Really kind of hit the brakes and take into consideration what's important to your audience, because something, if it's broken, it can be fixed. And I am happy to answer any questions. I appreciate you guys listening to me. And if there was any confusing moments, I'm happy to answer questions at any time.
I do have a couple questions from Facebook, and then from some people reaching out to me individually to ask them. So I'll start with those. If you guys do have questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. If you would like to come on and ask it yourself, just go ahead and raise your hand. There's a raise your hand option at the bottom of the screen, and I can actually give you the ability to talk as well. So feel free to do that. The first question was, does the use of hashtags aid in gaining a following in a similar fashion as paid reach?
Well, Instagram for hashtags is important if that user is looking for a specific topic. If using hashtags on Facebook is really, that's not a good use of your time. That's not how that tool is being used at all. They want it to be, they tried to be, but it's not. Instagram has really owned the hashtag territory. But one of the things you've got to consider with a hashtag is, if you're looking for, best sneakers, hashtag best sneakers, how many people are already using that hashtag? Are there any issues in that hashtag that someone may say something negatively, has nothing to do with your business, but now you're associated with that hashtag? So doing hashtag research is extremely important, but not everyone knows to search by hashtag. So investing in those paid dollars, but also investing time in researching a hashtag that you can absolutely own as your own, or it's been used, but not often. That's tough because, some companies have really honed in on their hashtag and use it constantly all the time. I, as Red Thinking, we're design, branding, and digital. Well, guess what? All of those hashtags are taken up. So we need to use those hashtags in a manner that we know people are searching for them, but we may not be able to own them, but we know people are searching, so we have an opportunity to be found. But I would absolutely take the time to research if you're going to do a hashtag. Try to own it, and if not, curate something that you at least can be part of that search when someone's looking. It in no way replaces paid investment. It just doesn't. And honestly, when I talk about investments, start small. See what you can do research, and we can do research as to your target market by geo, by age, by income, by all of that. And you can quickly see that if you spend $500 a month, you're going to reach this many people in this amount of times. If you do $750 a month, you're going to reach this many people this many times, 1,000, and so forth. So I would definitely say, see what Facebook and Instagram will show you what they believe your reach is going to be based on your investment, so that you're not kind of like, oh, I'm going to spend $500. I wonder what I'm going to get. You can do a full audience breakdown by all of the goals you have, and then it will tell you really what they believe your reach is going to be. And it's pretty spot on at this point.
And then there's a couple of people. How can you track leads through paid social media? That's one of the questions from Michael, actually. Michael Del Pierre.
Michael. So we track leads a number of ways. I mean, on a monthly basis, we're doing a report, but one of the biggest things we do is we can add code or pixels to the paid social media, in that if we're trying to lead them to, for example, your website, one of the most important things about conversions is you've got to give your audience more than one way to find that contact us page. Every website has the contact us section, but a consideration is to have a contact us section on every single page of your website. So through code, and then just looking at the reporting, it depends on what you're trying to do. Are you leading them to your social media? Are you trying to gain traction on a message you have on social media? Don't pay for likes. That's the biggest mistake you can make, because as I said earlier, what happens is these influencers and a lot of these pages end up investing, this was very early on, investing in, I want to gain X amount of likes. The reality is you gain the likes, but they're not engaging with you. And it's an absolute missed opportunity.
As a small business with a small marketing budget, where do you recommend spending those dollars?
Absolutely depends on what the industry is that you're in. So If I can find out what industry you're in, I could certainly make a recommendation. But in general, you really kind of need to see where your audience is and what they're using. And there's a lot of case studies and stats out there that really identify by industry what the top social media channel is. Like I said earlier, we have a real estate developer out of Bethesda, but they're national with their properties, commercial and residential. And they said, no way, Facebook and Instagram, we're not going to do it. Let's get on LinkedIn. And all of a sudden we were having this conversation about really how cool their culture is and how, they were on a hiring frenzy. And so we really created this campaign to be a mix of business and a mix of pleasure. But all of a sudden they were getting applicants very, very quickly because, you want to work with like-minded individuals, and culture is critical these days. I'm finding a lot of businesses right now are figuring out how to continue their culture with the pandemic. So, they're doing a lot of, Zoom calls and creating characters. And so now this company engages just as much on LinkedIn as it does on Facebook and Instagram. And the message varies, and it's different. What we post on LinkedIn, for example, is, news our prospects and clients can use, new business wins, blogs and did you know, and subject matter expert stuff. What we're posting on Facebook and Instagram, for example, is culture related, but also, hey, we won this client and we want to tag them and we're really excited you chose us. So it can be industry specific. But like I said, the biggest thing is you don't want to be on every single social media channel and be just okay. You really need to hone in on where your audience is and knock it out of the park.
He jumped back in and said he works staffing. They do business nationally, but want to focus more locally to identify clients, not candidates.
So identify clients, I would say probably the best use of your dollars would be a mix of LinkedIn and Facebook. Instagram's probably not going to be your best fit simply because you need to curate your message and make sure your message is resonating, and then potentially add Instagram. But I would do a mix of LinkedIn and Facebook based on being staffing. And I'm sorry, and
no,
definitely invest in paid on Facebook for what you're looking for.
How do you encourage engagement on social media? Even posing questions such as "tell us" posts often result in crickets.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We have a client that likes to do kind of this or that. And instead of asking a question, it's two images, and it may be two, as silly as it sounds, two sinks, a farmhouse sink and another sink in a kitchen, or an island, or a t-shirt design or something. You kind of force that by saying kind of a this or that versus like, what do you like? People don't really feel like sharing, I like this because of whatever. It's really simple, this or that. There's other ways you can engage in contests. I mean, contests are a big deal right now. We, as an organization, I sit on the board of Women Giving Back in Northern Virginia, and they happen to also be a client. We're doing some of their marketing right now. And we decided as a team on our own social media to do a bingo, a COVID bingo campaign. And all really funny things, like you've cleaned your closet out, or you've started a new hobby, or you had a cocktail before 5, or, we put the free red thinking bubble in the middle. And what we did, though, is you submitted that bingo card, you tagged Red Thinking, and through an aggregator, not by just my opinion of who we should pick, each week for 4 weeks we had a winner. And that winner had $50 donated to Women Giving Back in their name. That really resonated because you're community oriented. You're having a little bit of fun, a little tongue in cheek. We've got to be creative because we're a creative firm, so we better be mildly funny. But if you can tie what you're saying to something that people feel like you're giving back, or you're really engaged with your team, or this or that, you will find far more engagement than "how was your day?" ?
Right. What's the best way to show or create importance for paid investment? like if you're trying to get approval for a budget, especially in times like now where the environment and budgets are being slashed?
Sure. I would absolutely take the opportunity to run a strategic kind of, this is what we'll reach for this money. This is what we'll reach for this money. This is what we'll reach for this money. So you've got to hone in on who your target is, where you're trying to reach. If you are national, I would implore you to pick your top 2 tier 1 cities that maybe you work in. And what I mean by that, if I pick Washington, D.C., I can pick DC Metro, I can pick DC, Maryland, and Virginia as, and do a test. And then really hone in, like I said earlier in one of the slides, the age, the income, the interest, the this, that, and the other. You can quickly see, I will get this reach for $500, this reach for $750, and this reach for $1,000. And you can prove your ROI. The best thing about social media, though, and it's industry dependent, is it's kind of like a utility in your home. You don't ever really turn it off. You turn it up and you turn it down. So, retailers, listen, they crank it up around the holidays. There's no doubt about it, or around Halloween. There are industries that come July and August, I can tell you, most people, unless they're being transferred, aren't buying homes. They're on vacation. They don't want to look for schools for their kids. So you'll see that turn down a little bit at the end of the summer. Also, it relates to where you live. I mean, I'm here in Loudoun County, Virginia, and, you see a lot of the, a lot of DC takes a hike in July and August. So if we're trying to reach them specifically, we're probably going to turn that utility down. So it doesn't have to be a set. And by the way, too, when you set a budget, let's just say your budget's $750. All that's telling that social media channel is that that's your max. It just means don't exceed that. You may not even spend that in a month. But you need to definitely look at it. If it's not being spent, why? Is your message just not resonating and people don't want to click through? Or in fact, are you reaching your audience, but only for $500? That's great. It's just telling that channel the max. And really, we typically recommend, once you've got your paid campaign locked and loaded, we go in and tinker on a weekly basis, and we see and we report on it every 30 days. But let it go for 90 to 120 days. It takes time, and it's kind of like a billboard. I'm aging myself, but the case studies used to say that a billboard would resonate after someone saw it 3 times. And when you do this research as it relates to paid and proving a budget being worth it, it will also tell you, based on just its aggregators and what Facebook or Instagram or any other knows, it will tell you how many times you're going to reach one person too. So I'm going to reach this audience, and I'm probably going to be in front of this set of eyeballs 4 times for this budget. It's very telling, and it really, at the end, the data doesn't lie. They know. That's been the beauty of my industry and other industries, is that the digital world, came upon us, and it was, when we used to do print ads, and it was like, well, someone would come to a store, how'd you see us? And they'd say, oh, it was a sign. But the reality is they saw a print ad, but the last thing they saw before they walked in was a sign. The beauty of online is it's completely trackable. You can watch that entire customer journey from start to finish. I can't promise sales, but I can promise conversions, and then it's up to your sales team to close the deal.
So what, do you have any advice for college students or recent grads to kind of break into the industry?
Into the social media industry and like the digital world?
Into like marketing and social media marketing.
There are a ton of courses out there, and getting certified with Google and things like that is all wonderful. But honestly, I think you can read those case studies and things like that till you're blue in the face. But I think you've just really got to kind of get under the wing of someone that's focused on this. Really, it's not the best answer you want to hear, but it's social media, design, branding, digital. It's art and science now. It used to be that we would design a website and off you go and you launch it. But now the search engines, if you're not playing their game, they're going to deem you irrelevant. And I know that's a little bit of what Michael Del Pierre will talk about on Friday, but it is art and science. You've got to have a visually appealing website, and you've got to engage and invest in paid search engine optimization, search engine marketing, and social media based on the channels that you think will reach your audience. But, everybody's got an opinion on social media, and everybody thinks about doing it differently. So we knew as a company, we needed to hone in on best practices from what we saw to be great results, and not have someone tell us what we should be following. So, but I would absolutely implore you to, if you're coming out of college, I can tell you as an employer, I don't entertain a resume that doesn't have an internship on it. And that's just become my rule of thumb, simply because it helps me weed through a lot of resumes often. So if social media or any sort of digital is something you want to do, I absolutely implore you to get an internship, because I know other business owners that I'm friends with, that's the quick, that goes in that pile, and that one goes in that pile.
I know, and we've worked with you enough. We know a lot about red thinking, but could you explain what red thinking and your company, a little bit more about what you guys do?
Sure. So red thinking is in the Mad Men era, an advertising agency. However, before creating my own company and building our team, I really honed in on, number one, what I enjoy, but also ad agencies, the larger you get, you say you do all things under the marketing umbrella. And that marketing umbrella has probably 300,000 bullet points. And it includes public relations, and it includes event planning, and it includes all sorts of things. We at Red Thinking are branding, design, and digital. And what that means is often our clients come to us and they have a new brand, so new that they haven't even come up with a name yet. So there are a lot of companies that we've named, and then we go down the branding journey of naming, logo, all your collateral needs, your business cards, your stationery suites, your website, your social media, your outreach, be it direct mail. No one's really getting mail anymore, so direct mail is back, by the way. And then from a design standpoint, we also sometimes get clients that call us and say, hey, we just needed a new brochure, and that's what we work on with them. Typically, when we do a new brand or a rebrand, what we find is now it's time to put a media mix and media plan together to recommend, hey, you've built this beautiful bouncing baby brand, but how are you going to reach them? So we offer the media services of traditional and online. I'd say 80% of our clients invest in search engine marketing, so online, PPC, behavioral, and social media. We have some that do print, but typically there's got to be a really telling reason as to why they're going to do print. We work with a lot of companies too that go to conferences and conventions, and so swag is a big thing for us. I'm guilty of wanting to put the Red Thinking logo on just about anything I come across, but we've gotten more creative, and we have to be more creative because of the services we offer. But so typically the journey with Red Thinking is, if you're branding or rebranding, we hop on board, we create that beautiful brand, and I'm really proud of my company in that we've been told beyond our creativity that our customer service is exceptional, and that makes me really proud. And so we have a lot of clients that come back and continue on with us, and be it, we launch a site, let's just say it's a custom website in WordPress, and here again, it's that someone says, oh, I've got somebody that can make the updates. So we offer training at the end of the website for 2 hours, and all of a sudden we get the call like, nobody here has time to do that. So a lot of our relationships then become ongoing, in that we manage their website maintenance and also ongoing search engine optimization. You cannot simply just set up search engine optimization and leave it alone. The algorithms are changing so quickly, and so, in 1 month, you've got certain max characters that you should have, or else the search engine deems you irrelevant. And all of a sudden they switch it up, and you've got to have 250 characters less. My industry and my business is absolutely art and science. It is no longer just art.
Sorry, I muted myself because my dogs were barking. Um, I have a couple more questions that have come in. I know you talked about the cross post between Facebook and Instagram, and you shouldn't do that. But somebody asked, what about crossover ads?
Yeah, your crossover, I don't think that's as, that's not as big a deal. I mean, you're reaching an audience with a message, and your ads are going to be more succinct, and really kind of, you're trying to get that message across rather quickly. You've got to be thinking about who your specific target audience is, and truly based on experience and existing clients that you have, what's going to resonate with that specific audience. A lot of my clients are so broad based, but then I've got clients that, you know, we're only targeting 25 to 40-year-olds or 25 to 35-year-olds. And for something like Instagram and Facebook, your message can probably be the same in a paid ad on that. It's just a matter of your tone and voice, and people not saying, luckily, we're all smarter than we've ever been. And as a consumer, B2B or B2C, the reality is that if you see a copy and paste, you're kind of like, well, why am I following both channels? Like, tell me something different. But targeted ads, you're reaching a brand new audience. So you've got to see, if you have the same message, which platform is resonating and working best for you. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that from a paid standpoint.
Okay, what criteria should I look for in hiring a firm to assist with developing my social media presence? P.S. Wonderful information and presentation.
Well, you've gotten your answer. You should just hire a thinking. It's very simple. No, I think it's conversations like this. I have to sometimes consider how much I'm willing to give away in a conversation with a prospect, because, am I giving too much, and then someone's going to another firm and saying, well, I want this, this, and this, and I know this to be right because someone, a subject matter expert told me. But I find now more than ever, it's you just need to work with people you like, and you've got to also consider that everybody's got an opinion, and everybody is gonna suggest maybe something similar, maybe an alternative option, and they're probably all great ideas across the board. But at the end of the day, it's results. Talk to them about, what reports can maybe someone share. I've got monthly, I can tell you that my team, the second week of each month, or first week of each month, they're in what we call reporting hell, because it's, report after report after report to report on the month beforehand. And so I'm quick to just not say who the client is per se, but to show the report and what we did to pivot if it was needed. And that applies to really any industry. But I think also it's important to talk to some of their clients. I am very quick to say, hey, you know what? I am trying to sell you. So go ask my client. And I'm not paying my client to give a good report. But I trust they're going to, because they're still with us. So I think talking to subject matter experts, talking about reports, talking about your goals, perhaps having that firm run a report on really what they'd recommend based on the data, not just opinion, is going to be really important. Or just picking up the phone and calling me.
So that is all the questions that I see. If anybody else has any more questions, feel free to jump in these last couple minutes. I do want to give a quick plug. Shay mentioned it. On Friday at 11 a.m., we will have Michael Delpierre join us for the science of organic and paid search, so Google and stuff like that. So if this was interesting to you, that one should be as well. So I encourage you to join us for that.
I do as well. Michael's a good friend of mine. We work together on a lot of projects based on sometimes capacity, and I actually like Michael, so hopefully he'll do his hair for you. But it's an extension of what the services we offer. So like I said, it's a scientific area that his company offers, and it's in the data. The data doesn't lie, as he could tell you.
Just got another question. What is one of your favorite projects that you've worked on?
Well, I have social media projects that I've loved, and I have non-social media projects that I love. But my favorite, we don't do the social media, but Lost Boys Cider, and I'm not just saying this because Tristan went to Radford. Lost Boys Cider, we got the opportunity to design cans, signage, murals, like all sorts of things out the gate. You know, Tristan knew we didn't have experience in the beverage industry, but knew our creativity was there. And that's been super cool because now we've done like 3 or 4 cans, and he's got a cidery in just outside Old Town Alexandria. And that's been really cool. We actually just won an international award for that one from a design standpoint. Social media, I would say there's a few. Coda on H is we don't do their social media anymore just simply because they're at occupancy, apartment building in DC, H Street corridor, that we actually named the brand, and the definition of Coda and what that meant. And H Street corridor is a very musically inclined area of Washington, DC. And they were just very creative in their interiors and amenity spaces. And they were leased up in, I want to say 8 or 9 months. And Facebook and Instagram, Google, Facebook, and Instagram were their 3 leading drivers to lease up. And they've garnered a lot of attention on how quickly they leased up. Another one would be the Shay, and I definitely did not name it after myself. We actually inherited the name, but beyond that, we did all of their branding and managed their social media until lease up. So the industries that we typically find ourselves in, as I mentioned, real estate associations, simply based on us being DC Metro based. Nonprofits are really big on my radar. I've just giving back is really important. So we actually have our hourly rate, but we offer a nonprofit hourly rate for nonprofits. And then we are getting more into hospitality, food and beverage, a lot of mixed use communities, which is more than just residential. So it's, you know, the town centers with the apartments and condos on the top and the many tenants throughout. And then we've honed in a lot on wealth management companies. There's a lot of rules and regulations and stipulations when someone wants to spin off, for example, from a Morgan Stanley and create their own. And so we've really honed in on identifying how to kind of stay under the radar, but create their brand. So when they're ready to lock and load and move on, they're good to go. We actually typically call them names that are not their names as we're working on them because of NDAs and things like that. So we had one that was the Cookie Factory until it launched and spun off from a more nationally known brand. But I had the question I had a conversation with my leadership team yesterday about, you know, are there brands we want to engage with or industries we want to engage with? And across my 20 plus years, I've worked in every industry you could possibly think of, because at the end of the day, it's all about just visually compelling design and strategic digital. So you can do that within any industry.
And then I have one last question to close it out, since we're approaching an hour at this point.
Sure.
Why do you think it's important for you to still stay involved with Radford?
Radford was a fork in the road for me. I came from New Jersey, had been accepted to a handful of schools, all of which I'm one of 5, come from a big family, yet a small town in New Jersey, believe it or not, very idyllic. And everybody knew me as a Carson kid, and I had made the decision that I kind of wanted to go to a school that I had the opportunity to just figure out who I was, to be honest with you, instead of being one of 5 Carson kids. So my dad and I stumbled across Radford on a drive from Roanoke to Charleston as I was looking at the schools I had been accepted to. And we pulled off for lunch and had lunch at BT's, and this like bouncing, bubbly server personality was, made conversation with us. And as you drive down Tyler, as you know, you kind of look at this pretty idyllic college campus. I mean, it's kind of what you saw in the movies, in my opinion. I hate to age myself, but I filled out the application in the car on my way down. I already had an essay written from another, college submission, and dropped it in the mail in Charleston. Decided I was going to go to Charleston. Found out my best friend from high school was going to Charleston, and my dad said, "I thought you want to feel like a number for a little bit." I didn't feel like a number at all at Radford, but in graduating with a class of 56 and being at the size Radford was, that was big for me. And I met my very best friends. I'm a tri-sig, and that I'm sure I've had to not look at my phone are relentlessly texting on my thread right now. And, you know, I mean, the best friends I could ever have, and we've been through good, bad, and ugly, and a no judgment zone. And my education, I went into college knowing I actually wanted to be in communications to some degree. I didn't know what. I definitely knew I was not meant to be a designer. I was way more to be more project management. I rose through the ranks of my career that way. And, you know, people like Laura Turk and others have just really been hugely supportive of so many of us as our careers grew. And I've got just some really incredible friends with incredible careers. And I also live in Northern Virginia. I'm not from here, like I said originally. And I shout that I went to Radford left and right all the time, not only because I'm a business owner and I kind of want to say, haha, like, prove me wrong. I find all too many times I have to defend Radford, and it ticks me off every time I have to. So it's actually made me even more prouder to shout from the rooftops that I went to Radford. So that's why I want to support them. And, you know, I have lots of friends with high schoolers that are like, oh, you went to Radford. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And it was amazing. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shay. We really appreciate having you on today. And again, thank you everybody for joining us today. Definitely come back on Friday to check out Michael's talk about organic and paid search. So
yeah, Michael, don't worry. I'll have some questions for you.
Awesome. Well, I think that is all. So thank you again, Shay, and we'll see everybody again on Friday.
Thanks. Reach out on LinkedIn or any way you can find me. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope it helped.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.